And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from around the world. Hello again, everybody. This is Trevor Greenfield, and you are watching VirtualRacing.Network. So glad to have you with us today. Of course, we're continuing more of the great action from the US IndyCar League, and today is an absolutely special day from a special place. So proud to have you on board, and again, this is Happy Father's Day. It's Sunday, June 20th, 2021. So to all the fathers out there in the crowd and also competing in the race today, Happy Father's Day. We wish you well. Hope you're having a great day. Here at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we get set for a very special race. Of course, Indy always being special, but this being the Care Camps 250. And it's special for a number of different reasons. Of course, the Care Camps here to help kids living with cancer enjoy joy and healing and freedom comes from attending a specialized oncology camp where they can just be themselves. Really great organization that is doing great things for kids and their siblings and their families and helping them through a very rough time. So we'll hear a lot more about that a little bit later on. In the meantime, the competitors here are getting ready to take battle, to do battle here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So let's check in on some of the qualifying action. And as you can see here, some of the championship points on the screen. Graham Bunyan leading the points. We'll come back to this in just a minute, but this is where we're at the moment. And we can see, oh, it looks like we're having a difficulty getting this off our screen. Apologize for that, folks, but we'll be on it in just a second. There we go. I believe that was Graham Bunyan having a problem on his qualifying effort. It is, in fact. So, Graham having a problem. Jason Lowe setting the fastest time thus far, 39.670. Graham having to reset. Our championship leader at the moment having to reset. And also joining me in the booth momentarily, he was having some technical glitches there for a minute, but the legendary Matt Kingsbury. Matt, can you hear me in the booth? No, he's not with us yet. He was having some technical issues getting joined up this morning, so we await Matt rejoining us here in the booth, but he'll be stepping in to call some of the action alongside of myself here. As I mentioned, this Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I mean, the name is legendary, the track is legendary, everybody wants to be on the pole. As we took a look there at Jason Lowe, still sitting on pit lane. He's only done one lap, waiting to see whether or not he will end up with the pole with just that one lap. But it's Jason Lowe, Dan Ench, Ryan Bowles, Howard Livingston, David Zalesky, Matty Simpson, and James Kennedy, Jeff Murray, Will Stearns, Rick Lovison, and there Graham does jump to second with a 39.67, exactly the same time. We'll have to take a look. I don't have my my timing showing in hundredths. Yeah, you can see it there at the top of your screen. Just by 4/1000ths of a second. Jason Lowe, your series defending champion, taking the pole position by just 4/1000ths of a second at the moment. We still have several drivers, 4 drivers yet to go. Now, last week, one of these drivers who has yet to take his laps was this man we do not yet see on pit lane, Mike West. He actually came through. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see the race, he came through at the very end. He only led one lap, but it was the best one for him because it was the last one. It was Dan Ench running out of fuel on the final lap and allowing Mike West to come through for his victory. So we take a look at the starting grid here. for the Care Camps 250 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's Jason Lowe, the series defending champion, making his mark back at the top of the starting order here. And then we can see that Graham Bunyan, who is now our current championship leader despite not having any wins to his name thus far this season in the first 2 rounds, starting second. So Dan Ench third, Ryan Bowles fourth, and Howard Livingston, David Zalesky, Matty Simpson, James Kennedy, Jeff Murray, Will Stearns, Rick Levison, and Richard Kelbaugh. So we go and take a look at the next set of drivers. It's going to be Inigo Mardones, Mike West, and again, last week's winner, Mike West, starting from the back. Maybe feels better about starting from the back. He's definitely teammate to Graham, and so Graham being at the opposite end of the grid, maybe doing a little split strategy. Danny Alt and Manuel Gomez Esteban on the last row. So we look for an awesome day. Now, Matt, can you hear me? I'm not sure if he's here, but I think, again, we're just still having some technical issues. So let's go ahead and take you through some of the rest of what we have in store today. We'll take a look at the points as we get set to do our as we get set to do our pace lap here. So this is where we sit after 2 rounds of the US IndyCar League's Season 11. We've got Graham Bunyan here in first place with 2 pole positions, as you see, and a number of bonus points for leading laps and fast laps, and then points-wise, 76 points, just ahead of a 2-way fight for second, Dan Ench and David Zalesky. Dan Ench, of course, last week, as I mentioned, having great strategy, but just running out of fuel on the very last lap. He'll be starting just behind Graham Bunyan today. Mike West there in fourth with that victory last week, and James Kennedy, of course, having a victory in our first round at Iowa. So now, while we're talking about it, and we get our ticker ready to go here for the race, we're moments away from getting underway here. It's so exciting. This is where the nerves start to get up there and you get those butterflies going just before the start. You never know what's going to happen. Doesn't matter if it's real life or sim racing. You're sweating a little bit. The palms get a little sweaty and you don't know what's going to happen. But 100 laps here, 250 miles of the Care Camps 250. So proud to have you alongside as we get ready to start this incredible day of action. And once again, happy Father's Day. Now, one really great thing to note is this man, Howard Livingston, is really one of the reasons why Care Camps is the title sponsor of the race, and he is doing something really incredibly special. $1 from every single lap he completes today is being donated, and a number of others are doing the same. Just regular people making a difference, but going to be donating to that great cause. And again, we'll hear more coming soon. Here we go. We get set for the green flag, and it's Jason Lowe leading us down as he gets the jump pretty good on Graham Bunyan. Take a look a little bit further back, and we're side by side, Dan Ench and Ryan Bowles heading to turn 1. And as they exit turn 2, it's Lowe with no issues. A little bit further back, Ench slides back into 4th. Undoubtedly, we look for Ench to continue his fuel-saving orchestration that managed to put him right up in the mix for the win last week. We're looking a little bit further back, not seeing too many drivers experiencing any issues. Again, Howard Livingston now having completed 1 lap. That'll be $1 to the kids at Care Camps. So, and as I mentioned, several others doing exactly the same. We take a look a little bit further back. It's James Kennedy and Will Stearns fighting it out for 7th, as Howard Livingston has actually dropped a position since the start. sure Howard will be wanting to have a great finish for the kids today, and most of all, just complete the most amount of laps. You can see side-by-side action there as looks like Will Stearns getting around Matty Simpson, who might be having a little bit of an issue. Take a look. And we can see, yes, Jeff Murray now getting around Matty Simpson, going side-by-side into turn one. Kind of a dangerous proposition sometimes. But Matty Simpson surviving that one. Now we look back up front. See Jason Lowe. So Graham Bunyan getting very, very close here, approaching the back of Jason Lowe. It's a question as to whether or not he'll be able to make a move around. So Jason Lowe in control here, lap 4, and it looks like it's stacking up behind Graham Bunyan as we get on to lap 5. It's Graham Bunyan, Ryan Bowles completing the top 3. Dan Ench a very close 4th. Just behind him's David Zalesky 5th, and Howard Livingston hanging right on the back of that lead pack for the Care Camps organization. Getting as much word about what they do out as possible. Looks like James Kennedy just falling off the back, and there we had it. We missed it for a second as Jason Lowe hitting early. We're not sure. He must have touched the wall while we were off for a moment. Let's take a look. Just go back for a moment and see. Gets below the white line and gets it onto the cool down lane, entering into the pits. Managed to keep it right side up and pointed forward somehow. Manages to save it, and I guess Lowe did not sustain any damage, though he has now fallen to the back of the pack. So looks like he's fallen to just behind Manuel Gomez Esteban in 15th. So maybe he can recover. Another slip from Jason Lowe. Seen this a few times already this season. He's got the pace. He's got everything to run right up front. As you can see in the back, we've got a move for 3rd as both Dan Ench and David Zalesky there battling it out. And it looks like Howard Livingston perhaps about to make a move. Here we go down the inside of Dan Ench. Move Livingston up to 4th, now up a position on the day, and Ench will have to sit back in 5th, perhaps doing some fuel saving.
Trevor, speaking of fuel saving, I think Dan and Ryan Bowles are doing a lot of that so far, and Zalesky. I think everyone's just patiently waiting.
So great to have you join in, Matt. I called for you a couple of times. Guess you couldn't hear me. We were having some technical issues, but I'm so glad you joined in. Yeah, so yeah, that was an issue for Lowe early on, Matt. But what were you saying? What's the fuel number here? How many laps are we looking to go on a first stint?
Yeah, I think if you're running out front by yourself in map 1, probably about 23, 24 laps, and then after that, by yourself, if you're fuel saving, 26. If you're in the draft, that might extend, I think, up to 27 or 28.
Okay, so we're expecting Dan Ench to do the 27-28, but if you're somebody like Graham Bunyan, who I just switched to on the camera here, running out front clean air, you're going to be suffering towards the end of the stint. It might be the whole difference by the time we get through our... I mean, they're going to have to make 3 stops to make it. I wonder if anybody can save quite enough fuel, or if we can get cautions that would allow somebody to make it on less stops than somebody who's running out front like Graham Bunyan here. But Matt, so great to have you officially join us in the booth, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you joining us just a moment later, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty early on as we see Ryan Bowles lining up Graham Bunyan, and so in the booth we now have Matt A. Kingsbury. So glad to have you joining us, Matt, one of the Indy 500 stars in the iRacing service. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, this is a tough track. I love watching races here. Not so much competing in them usually. It's a tough track to win at, and I like winning. But I think we're in for a good race. I tried this setup out. It's a very driver-centered setup. You have to be quite active with the tools, and you have to be quite active with your steering wheel to make sure you don't make too many overcorrections with it.
Absolutely. Scrubbing speed is going to destroy these tires. You were mentioning the setup was it was feeling a little loose in clean air. Doesn't seem like anybody really having too much trouble with the looseness problem, but you never know. And Matt, as we were watching this, we have this note that it looks like Manuel Gomez Esteban, as we go back here, taking a look at the replay. Manuel Gomez Esteban, maybe I spoke just a little early about the looseness problem. Looks like he just got it loose going into one.
Yeah, actually, it was turn 3 again.
Oh, sorry
about
that.
He got it loose. Same spot that Ryan Bowles got it loose. He just touched that white line, which is something I noted earlier. If you get down there, it's going to get loose. So in 3 and 4, you got to stay above the white line here. In 1 and 2, you can definitely use it a little bit, but I think it's the way the wind's pointing, and it's going to make that car real loose, which is something we've never had really in years past here at this track.
Well, this, not much of a tailwind at the moment, or a wind at the moment, only 2 miles an hour, but it is 122 degrees also, so that could play a factor, the heat really torching these Firestone Firehawks. But either way, Manuel Gomez Esteban, a name that we kind of hope to see sometimes up at the front because he does have the pace, but he's been having several issues getting season 11 off the ground. And hey, Matt, I'm looking at this on the screen now. It looks like everybody's kind of stacking up behind Bunyan. We've got what do we've got? 10, 11, 12. We got pretty much the whole field stacked up behind Bunyan. This is anybody's race right now.
Yeah, he dropped his pace off. He's trying to save some fuel. He just dropped from a 42.2 to a 42.5 in the span of 1 lap. So he's trying to back the pace down, get someone to pass him.
Well, once again, we're on lap 14, and that's 14 laps longer than I've seen most of the Indy 500s on the iRacing service make it before a yellow flag. So US IndyCar League continuing, I'll knock on wood or whatever superstition we want to do, but continuing their march forward with the least amount of cautions of just about any league that I've seen. So nice clean racing here in the US IndyCar League. Matt, that really gives you a chance to formulate your strategy, your fuel saving strategy, or whatever strategy you want to enact as far as pit stops. Letting these races go green like this for a long while really gives you some opportunity to work on that, as opposed to getting caught out by these yellow flags that just seem to always come out at the worst time.
Yeah, I feel like, especially in a race like this, it's we talked about being a 3 pit stop race, so we know that if you're gonna have to make 25 each stint, and we know that our fuel window is about 24 to 26 laps if you're by yourself. So if I'm here in this first stint, this is where I'm doing my fuel saving. I would count on this race going green flag in my opinion, because you're not gonna get lapped really if you do run that strategy, and if you do, you're gonna be back on the lap as soon as caution flies. So for me, I'm going to get my fuel saving done, try to run 27 laps here, 28 laps, whatever I can without losing time in the first stint. Because then after that, I can run map 1 flat out and just burn fuel and go, and not worry about my fuel save.
Yeah, and that's really it. That's where the most pace is. Hey, Matt, are you watching on screen? Did you see this guy named Jason Lowe just absolutely on a tear on the outside, flying by everybody? I don't think he's doing much fuel saving at the moment. It looks like he's trying to reclaim his place up at the front.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, because if you get on the guy that's going to be leading here's tail, you know, you can feel safe after that. So it's not a bad idea to get his track position back. I think he's quick enough in the pit lane that he wants to stay up there. Because if he doesn't, then he's going to have to save it later.
That's always it, right? You can burn up those tires and all that fuel at the beginning, but you might have to do some pretty crazy stuff at the end of these races to just hang on. But then again, it could work in your favor, just depends whether the cautions come out. If the caution were to come out, say right now, and everybody were to pit, then he'd be on the same strat as them, which could really work out in his favor. So, I mean, Jason all the way back up to 5th. I mean, this is just crazy watching him go through the field like a hot knife through butter, basically, just flying around the outside.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, you still have to hit a fuel number. So if I could hit my fuel number still in the first stint, that's something I would be aiming for. But also, you know, everyone pitting at the same time can be kind of scary, so he's not necessarily in a bad spot.
Here he goes right around the outside of Matty Simpson. We watch a lot of this onboard footage. You get to see exactly what the driver would be seeing from their position, a little bit higher, like the camera on the Indy cars. But Jason Lowe's right there. I mean, shades of almost the spin and win at Indy. And look, as we can see, Jason flying by down the inside, passing David Zalesky, headed into turn 1. Matt, this is almost looking like you or your brother Ray flying through the field at Indy. Absolutely incredible stuff from Jason Lowe. I mean, he downplays it when we talk to him, Matt, on the interviews. He's like, oh well, I'm just always in the right place at the right time, and some people don't make the races, so that's how I got to be series champ. But I think we're really seeing some of Jason's true pace here as he's able to work those in-car adjustments. And of course, the primary one being the weight jacker down the inside of Ryan Bulls into turn 1. Doesn't quite pull off that move, has to back out of it. But Jason is just not afraid to... I mean, it does not look like he's on any sort of a conservation strategy, Matt. He looks like he's got the bit between his teeth. Here he goes down the inside of Zalesky into 3.
Yeah, I mean, I like that he's attacking because he knows that he's got to make up time. But he's at the front now, so... I feel like if you could try to save, fuel to make an extra lap, that's what I would do at the situation. But at the same time, if you can get out in front and get a good pit stop, that's also going to help.
Exactly, and to some extent, you can kind of cover those behind you and run clean off the front. But here at Indy, very difficult to make that pass from second to first, and can invite some very dangerous situations, as we have found out in the past. But Jason Lowe here just making a great show for us. I really appreciate it, because it seems like a lot of other cars through the field have been moving forward, but not very aggressively. As we take a look a little bit further back, we got Matty Simpson running in 5th. Great to have Matty up in the front. Also Howard Livingston here in the Care Camps automobile, running in 6th place, holding tight. I'm sure he's probably trying to factor in what strategy he wants to run today. We take a look in 8th, the bright green and yellow machine. Very familiar to those of you who have been watching IndyCar series, seeing those bright colors from Menards and Glidden paint. I'm used to seeing those colors in, but this Jeff Murray's ride here, and he's doing quite well. He's hanging in 8th. Matt, this is just, look at this stack up. The whole field within, it's not even down the straightaway. It's the whole field is within eye shot. It's amazing. This is just, everybody's within 2 seconds of each other. This is literally anybody's race.
Yeah, I mean, the pace is really back down, so after this pit sequence, I think we're going to see where everyone shakes out, and then it's going to get interesting because you're going to have guys that are good on fuel, maybe some that aren't. And I think, I know Dan's saving, that's for sure. So after that, we'll see, who gets a good pit stop, who's got the fuel to make it. And the ones that got the fuel to make it, I think, are the ones that are going to push right to the front and try to make something happen, as we got a car in the pit lane here.
Oh, we do. We have Graham Bunyan, who came down into the pits. So we take a look at his entry just to see how that went. We were just looking a little bit further down the field, and I missed that. So Graham coming off of the lead here on lap 23, that's a little early. Do you think he's trying the undercut procedure, see if he can get one up on everyone, get some clean green flag laps in?
He got stuck running the lead there, trying to save fuel, and I think he was running the high side. He can hold off the cars there, so he could have burned more fuel than he anticipated.
Well, we got the gap times going on the top, but you don't need it because you can pretty much see the whole fuel or the whole field in just one shot here. But everybody from 12th onward suffering a little bit of issues thus far. It looks like Jeff Murray and Will Stearns now into the pits. So they're possibly trying to do similar strategy.
Yeah, I mean, 25 puts you right where you need to be, but you're going to have to save possibly for upcoming stints where you can't push full out like some of these other guys are going to be able to do.
Exactly. So all these drivers, just to correct out, make sure I got it straight, the preferred green flag strategy would be to make it 25 laps at least, and that way you can, I mean, what's the fuel number again? What's the max that we could do on a fuel state, you think?
I think we could see 28 for these guys that have been saving.
Okay.
The ones, I think Jason Lowe, he just did 25, which is where I expected him to roughly do because he was, trying to pass everyone.
Right.
And I think that's really good number for him because that means he doesn't have to save too much here to make it to the end. But Graham Bunyan's the one that I'm really going to watch for to be able to save fuel here and see what he can do with it.
Well, we'll put the track map up on the screen so that we can tell who is where, and there you can see the split with the main pack with Ryan Bowles out in front of Matty Simpson and Howard Livingston, and they're just about to catch the back end of the group that has just pitted, including Richard Kelbaugh there in 14th. So looks like he's at the tail end of that group, and then just a short throw away, you've got Will Sturridge, Jeff Murray, and Jason Lowe and Graham Bunyan. So Lowe now in second behind Bunyan, as also Rick Lovison comes into the pits. And we also see our leaders coming into the pits. It looks like Matty Simpson passed Ryan Bowles getting into the pits. Let's take a look at that.
I mean, he did a good job there getting it slowed down. Ryan was really early on the brakes, and good heads up by Matt there because if he doesn't dodge that, there's a wreck.
Oh
my only question would be is if he got an illegal pit lane entry because he may have not crossed in early enough. It looks like he's good, so that's good to see. Great heads up driving. Very
interesting. Very heads up. Now, of course, watching in one of the 500 races last season, we saw that sort of an entry kind of go all wrong for a certain Michele Costantini, trying a late pit entry and getting trapped alongside of another driver who was slowing up a little bit more in front of him, wiping him out of the race. That'll bring up bad memories for some of those who are watching the race, but nevertheless, you always have to watch out for that. If somebody is braking a little bit too much or taking a little too slow, you do have the opportunity. You can make up some time, and truly Matty did get around. So Dan Ench there into the pits, also Mike West now into the pits, and to nobody's surprise, look who's taking over the lead. Graham Bunyan now up into the lead.
Yeah, and they had really good stops, so I think this puts Dan in a place where he's good on fuel, but he's gonna have to really push here to make sure he catches up. And same with Mike West, which those are the two that last week, they made the fuel strategy work. So no surprise that those are the two again that go the furthest on fuel.
Well, he went from first to the back up to the front in just one stint. Matt, this guy Jason Lowe seems to have this track kind of figured out at the moment, and he's putting a stamp on it. He's at the front end of the group here.
Yeah, he's looked really strong, so no surprise there. I think Graham's gonna sit behind him because he's got to save fuel. And if Jason can make it 25, 25, 25, like we talked about, then he's in a great spot. It's gonna be hard to pass the tires wear out a little bit here.
Absolutely, and we'll keep an eye on the temperature and see. You were mentioning before the broadcast it might be going up, and we are up to 124 degrees, so it's gone up a little bit. Still at a 2-mile-an-hour wind, and we can see just behind Will Stearns moving up into third place. So the car's hooking up for Will. This is the first time we've seen him up at the front of one of these groups in a broadcast. Seems to know something about running this IR18 at Indy.
Yeah, we've actually got 2 packs formed up now. We got one, the lead group of 6 there, and then after Matty Simpson is 7, there's 4.
Oh no! Will Stearns getting it wrong. Exiting turn 2, loses control. Can he save it? He does. Just holds on to it. Oh, Matt, I think he was going for that bonus point. Does not bring out a caution. I think he was going for that bonus point for leading the race, and he just got it wrong. So close to wiping out other leaders or himself, but just like Jason Lowe, he manages to gather it back up, and he'll continue. You had just mentioned, in fact, why don't we go back? We can just take a quick, I don't know if it didn't even give us a note on that. Oh wait, no, it did. So we can actually take a look at it from his perspective.
By Will. He got the white line just like Jason Lowe had earlier in the race. And get loose.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that white line, a killer today on that setup. Boy, so lucky the way that car came back to him and was able to keep it on the track and not crash into anybody. That could have been so incredibly costly, but nevertheless, this man at the front is getting it done. 33 laps in. As I mentioned, he had an issue earlier on. Took him all the way to the back of the pack, and now he's come all the way back to the front. And so as we take a look at the larger picture here, we can see this front group that Matt was just talking about. Jason Lowe, Graham Bunyan in second, our series leading driver at the moment. Jeff Murray in third, David Zalesky in fourth, and James Kennedy, one of our race winners, our first race winner of the season, in fifth place. So can't count any of these drivers out, all of them on their own strategies. Be very interested to see how this plays out. Then you have to look 2.6 seconds back, and you've got the start of the next group, which is Matty Simpson. It looks like he and Ryan Bowles, who was just up in the lead, but had a very slow pit entry that really cost him, and also them sticking it out for a little bit longer. It looks like Graham Bunyan's group up in the front making the better call to come in when they did and making up some time. But Ryan Bowles here, Inigo Mardones, first time we've gotten a chance to call his name today. He's just been a little quiet, but quietly getting it done, up 6 places today. So congrats to him on that. Actually looking really strong in that car. Seems like he's managing to hold on pretty good. Dan Ench was running up in the front, has now ended up in this second pack, as you mentioned, and tough to tell exactly how this is going to work out in the long run for Dan. But as you see him drifting a little bit back of the group, Matt, you really can't afford to fall too far off. You don't want to lose that draft of the guys in front, and especially if you've got a more aggressive fuel saving strategy going on, you probably don't have the pace to recatch that draft. So you don't want to fall too far off the back, because that will affect your pace, and ultimately, if there's no yellow flags, you could find yourself many seconds back of the group.
Yeah, I think Dan's all right though. He's the best on fuel right now in this group. This is the group that all fuel saved, so and he's gone a lap further than all of them. So I think he's all right where he is. He's just trying to get a little extra fuel out of the car, I feel like. And if he starts to lose the draft, he's going to just switch back to map 1 and catch back up. So I don't really mind what he's doing here.
Well, you, I think you had called it. It's this group. I don't know how it's happened. Maybe they're saving fuel. Whatever's happening right now at the moment, it has allowed this group to actually catch up. And now we have, if we take a look overhead, you can see everybody is back running together as David Zalesky now takes over, or Jeff Murray now moves into 3rd place. But Matt, we got a big happy group again, and I'm sure that is not what these drivers at the front, Jason Lowe, Graham Bunyan, Jeff Murray, David Zalesky, and James Kennedy, wanted to see at all, because now you've got about 5 or 6 more problems to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. You have basically a 10-car pack forming up here with Howard Livingston even keeping up too. So I think it's going to be a tight race. This next pit stop is where we're going to start. You know, if everyone makes their number. If everyone's good, then it's going to become uncapped. Everyone's going to be pushing. It's going to be everyone's going to start going for the lead, and that's where it's going to get really interesting. Until then, we'll see just after the stop. I think anyone that can make it, they're going to go right to the front. They're not going to wait around. But you got to make sure you can make it, because as we said, the fuel number is a little close. It's closer to 24 or 23. So if you're going to be out front, you got to be prepared to use a little more fuel.
You do have to use more fuel. It's all part of it, and you might want to get that bonus point for leading the lap, but again, you put yourself out there exposed, as nobody wants to lead after that. and they'll let you lead out the front just so they can save that fuel behind you. So this is real tricky. This is a real tricky one to make a call as to how you want to play it. Would you want to be out front? Obviously, if there is a caution, if any sort of problems happen, you won't be caught up in it. But and you can also kind of control the front, control your own pace, maybe even running a fuel map that's a little bit higher to save some fuel. But downside is everybody behind you is fuel saving, and it's just a matter of basically the cars behind can lift their foot out of the throttle coming into the corner. Try to see. We don't actually have inputs of the throttle and brake that we can see, but you can watch and listen for the lift in the corner. Probably on entry to 3 and entry to 1, you'll hear it. Graham being able to lift and then save just a little bit of fuel at the end of the straight.
Yeah, what I'm looking for here is, I think if you're going to see, I just saw Dan make one pass. I think he's going to try to start getting forward here. Not too fast, but just pick off a few cars and get himself in a better position. But it's really tough because it's hard to make a pass on the inside, I've noticed, and I feel like the outside is where you need to make your pass.
Well, it's where we saw Jason Lowe just absolutely ripping through the field from the back. As we can see, Matty Simpson going out wide there, and he seems to want to run the high side anyway. That's kind of stacking it up a little bit behind with Ryan Bowles and Dan Inch, as we see on board. So I think drivers finding a groove that they want to run in maybe, and works for where they have the weight jacker, or where they have the ARBs maybe set on these cars. Some drivers electing to run that high side. Not something that I really saw people doing in the races that we were doing here. Of course, the iRacing, the Indy 500 is such a huge part of the real-life IndyCar series, the crown jewel of the IndyCar series, and then iRacing makes such a big deal out of it. We have the official iRacing Indy 500 with open setups, and then of course you have the fixed Indy 500, which is a newer fixture on the iRacing calendar, but gaining a lot of steam, getting a lot of participation. And then numerous other leagues, including Elite and Lionheart, many others running Indy 500s of their own. So we get a big taste of the Indy 500 in May, and that's kind of what's great about this is the real life series is already run. Everybody else is already run, and so everybody has some really great experience at the track. and has probably already mastered some of these fuel-saving techniques and how to deal with that terrible aero push from these Indy cars. It's just that's a big factor, Mac. If while we have a second and we're just watching everybody kind of hanging in the pack at the moment, trying to deal with that aero push as these cars go into the corner, maybe we can see it a little bit better from the third or fourth car in line. So we'll jump in on board with that. Matt, what do you have to do? If we're watching David Zalesky here heading into turn 3, what are you going to do to deal with that huge wall of air coming off the back of Grant Bunyan's car as you go into 3?
Yeah, I think you got to just up your weight jacker, find clean track. You know, there's not a lot you can really do other than try to set up for, you know, the best run you can get out of a corner and get a run down the straightaway. Something I noticed is Dan fell back. He got loose, it looked like, or possibly someone got into his left rear a little bit. I don't think there's any damage on the car, but he's dropped off the back there and kind of regained some positions.
I do see that. We'll take a look at a replay. Oh, there it was. We could see just at the end of that replay, Dan getting a little loose. We'll see if we can go just back it up on screen and see what happened. Then we'll rejoin the live broadcast. But it did look like, you can see just ahead Matty Simpson coming back up the track. I think Dan maybe trying to avoid that a little bit. Gets it loose into 3. Big wiggle moment. That looked a little dangerous, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, but a good job by everyone to, keep it straight in the end there, because there was contact a little bit. Thankfully, no contact that would cause damage, but everyone realized it. Lifted out. Inigo lifted out, which is really smart, and you live to catch back up and fight another day, basically. Because if he kept his throttle in there, they could have wrecked.
Absolutely, could have wrecked. It could have just looped right around on him. He could have hit the wall, taken out other drivers. There's definitely lifting discretion is the better part of valor, as they say, and choosing. And as you can see, let's take a look at that. This is proof positive, as Dan has actually managed to recatch the draft of the lead pack. It didn't end up costing him. He may have had to change his fuel saving strategy to possibly recatch that draft, but Matt, I mean, just that idea to lift instead of forcing the issue, I mean, now he's just right back in the battle.
Yeah, and I'm actually getting notifications that we're getting cars pitting this lap, so Will Stearns is one of those. He's dropping down the penalty to somebody, says. So that tells me a lot of guys are short on fuel, and they're not going to be in contention of this race, because it's going to be very hard to save fuel when everyone else is going full speed here.
Absolutely, as we see Will make his way into the pits. He's the first driver to do so. He had pitted on lap 24. Graham Bunyan pitted earlier. He had pitted on lap 23, so Will not getting quite as good of fuel mileage. Boy, this is a close battle at the front. Little tense for me to watch these drivers all hanging that close, because you really just don't know if somebody's going to have an issue. We've already seen a couple of drivers getting a little loose, maybe their weight jacker settings causing it, but Matt, Graham Bunyan going yet another lap. So this is maybe another thing that Graham Bunyan knows how to do exceptionally well, besides make a tear and come from the back to the front like we saw last week. Graham perhaps just as good of a master on fuel saving strategy as some of these other drivers, and that does not bode well for the rest of the field.
Yeah, he's put himself in a spot where he's almost made it to, he's gonna make the lap 50 here, and that puts him in a great window where if he still needs to save another one, he can still save another one. He's not going to be off the back of the pack. But I reckon he's been saving the entire stint. I reckon he'd probably go another lap or two.
Well, Richard Kelbaugh also making his pit. This is kind of dangerous territory for some of these drivers too, because if they come out by themselves, they may not have the chance to sit in that draft, and that may work a little bit, but in terms of saving fuel, that will not work well at all for them. So we'll see where Richard Kelbaugh comes back out, and we can just see these drivers continuing on to lap 50. So the great news is, you speak of drivers who have been continuing. This guy right here, Howard Livingston, in the care camps Delara IR18 putting in a great effort, and so far bringing home $50 straight out of his pocket. Howard, a great musician down in Florida, who has been working with the group care camps for a while and being able to help them out. We'll talk a little bit more as the race goes on, but Jason Lowe leads Graham Bunyan and Jeff Murray down pit road, Matt.
Yeah, I heard Bunyan actually drop the clutch in to try to save some fuel there, so he's definitely really close and didn't want to run out. But he did a good job to extend that that stint out, and it puts him right, right in the workable strategy window. He's still got to do a little fuel saving though.
Well, pulling a little bit of extra strategy out of the bag, dropping the clutch in. Of course, kind of dangerous when you drop that clutch in because it's got to come back out and you got to match the revs. Otherwise, you could go right back around. Graham Bunyan coming out quite wide on exit. There's no chance of getting a penalty for pit exit or anything like that if you come out that wide. Did you see that on camera, Matt?
Yeah, you can do that in the sim. You can come up between turns 1 and 2, and you won't get a penalty as long as you're back down on the apron, by the next part of the grass.
So that's very interesting, and again, yet another part of it. And as we can see, Jason Lowe got a great pit stop, got away very cleanly, and he's trying to weave a little bit and pull away from Graham Bunyan, but I really don't think that's going to work in his favor. Rick Lovison here has made his pit stop, now exiting the pits out into 12th.
Yeah.
And we take
I really like Ryan Bowles' pace and strategy here. He's running fast times, and he's got the toe off the car in front of him. And he's got the fuel to make it a few extra laps, so I really like where he's at. He can pretty much go flat to the end of this race. So I'm really liking that strategy call on it. I'm thinking he's got a good shot to win this.
He certainly does have an excellent chance to win here today. Ryan Bowles, not a name that we've been calling much, as we can see James Kennedy just peeling off, and Matty Simpson as well peeling off into the pits. As you mentioned, Ryan, his best lap he just did this last lap, a 41.54. So Ryan Bowles on the attack, flying around this track, getting it very high on exit there. Out of turn 2, diving down the inside of Richard Kelbaugh, who's now going a lap down. And last week's winner, I see that.
Yeah, you gotta. He didn't expect the. Oh, we had a yellow on the track, front stretch.
Caution! We've got Jeff Murray. Jeff Murray has crashed. We'll look at that more in a minute. So many drivers had just pitted, and this leaves Ryan Bowles to make his pit stop. He hasn't yet. Inigo Mardones shown in second, Dan Ench in third, and Howard Livingston in fourth. None of those drivers making their pit stop. Matt, this is going to bring Jason Lowe and Graham Bunyan right past them and up into the lead as these drivers have to make their pit stop.
And they're going to have enough fuel now, so it's going to be flat out to the end here. But that's interesting because these guys are low on fuel. They might even have to pit here to, not run out. I assume the pit lane will be open here, but if it's not, you got to come down. You got to come down.
Absolutely. Well, this does finally shake it up. We were wondering if we were going to see a caution last week, going completely caution-free and not giving me any time to play any sponsor messages. Very frustrated about that. But for these guys, it worked out great getting to execute their strategies. Not much you can do about it as a competitor. It just comes out whenever it comes out, and you got to deal with it. But again, this is going to really shake up our strategy. We just talked about how Ryan Bowles was in command of this race and was actually doing very well, then just slightly getting it loose. So Ryan does lead the train down into the pits, and looks like he's got a nice clear gap to the next car, so he's most likely not going to lose any places in pit lane.
Yeah, and I just went back and watched what happened to Jeff Murray. He was just pushing hard, trying to catch the cars in front of him, close that gap up out of 4, and he got the wall, and then slammed into the inside wall after that. He hit the outside wall, slammed into the inside wall, and once he's done that, he probably broke all the tires off the car, and it's just a sled.
Well, we'll go back here in just one moment as soon as we get through these pit stops. as soon as this action ends here on pit road. Ryan Bowles, actually Jason Lowe coming in to top off. Graham Bunyan still on the track, so Jason Lowe looking to top off, and I don't know if he just needed the fuel to make it to the end. He would know that.
Yeah, he might have been a little close and didn't want to risk it. You know, that's it's a smart move if you're trying to go for a championship, is not to risk it. But I think, you know, Graham probably did the math and realized, you know, he's close, but he knows that if he, with the caution, he probably can make it. So I personally would have probably stayed out if I was in their situation. But I can understand, you know, not wanting to risk it and coming down instead.
Well, this does give a little bit of a gap in fuel. I'll let you run your numbers, but in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and hear from Care Camps, our title sponsor of today's race, thanks to Howard Livingston, and let's hear what Care Camps is all about.
I was diagnosed with ALL leukemia.
I was diagnosed with lymphoma Hodgkin's disease, rhabdomyosarcoma.
I had Burkitt's lymphoma.
I was diagnosed at age leukemia.
It was hard because I did lose all my hair.
During my chemo, I had a tumor in my shoulder, so we had to take out my shoulder blade.
I was on chemo for 3 or 4 years.
In the hospital for about 4 years.
I relapsed when I was 6.
I've actually had cancer twice.
Of course, you would never think that you're going to be the one to have cancer.
Teens who come here don't have to explain why they look different, why they sound different. They don't have to explain why they don't have hair or an arm. They just can come here and be themselves.
You know, a lot of times when they lose their hair or when they're not feeling well, like they just feel really alone. And so to be able to come to a camp where everybody, no matter what age you are, has gone through the same thing or is going through the same thing is amazing for them.
They've been through a tremendous ordeal, and after a week of not thinking about that, not thinking about their next blood draw, not thinking about their next challenge, but just focusing on the moment and being in such a special place and surrounded by beauty, I think it does give them an opportunity to recharge their batteries.
Having it be the biggest event that these kids will ever experience, is just a massive, massive gift that we can give them.
The consistent and generous support that we have received from Care Camps is extremely important in allowing us to make this a cost-free experience for so many people whose lives have been affected by cancer.
We're able to bring all these wonderful kids to camp because of donations.
Green flag, green flag.
Well, Matt, a truly special organization, proud to have their name on this race for today. Care Camps doing great things for kids as we go green flag here. Graham Bunyan led them back, but it's Rick Lovison who's decided to take to the front of the track. Matt, we're getting set for the last 42 laps of action here at the track for the Care Camps 250. It's really still anybody's race despite that caution flag.
Yeah, everyone's got a chance to win it now. That's good on fuel, and I think that's everyone's on the lead lap here. So should be interesting to see, you know, who's got the best car in traffic here, who can figure out the line. Personally, I think I'm going to go, you know, for Graham Bunyan. I feel like he's the best at making moves, but there's definitely some other strong choices out there for this one.
Of course, I mean, you could take your pick. You got James Kennedy here, already a race winner, running in third. Graham Bunyan, actually surprising that we haven't been saying his name more as race winner, but maybe today will be his day. Nevertheless, not a race winner yet so far in the series this season, but running a strong second, showing lots of expertise. Ryan Bowles, who was really caught out by that caution, had to come in and lose the lead, but it's not going to cost him too much as he's running now in 4th and can kind of reset at the top end of that fuel strategy. Matty Simpson still running a great 5th here. The Australian, we in that awesome yellow submarine livery that we always see at Indy every year. And you can see someone else who's making his way forward. Don't forget about this guy, Dan Ench. He did have a little bit of an incident, getting a little loose in the last stint towards the end, but he's hanging on. He's great on fuel, and we'll have to see if he can put together a strong finish. Dan's tied for 2nd in the points. Jason Lowe hanging at the back of the pack, now trying to make a move on the outside, as we saw him at the beginning of the race after his incident, almost getting it wrong and crashing, managing Danny Sullivan's type ability to keep the car pointed straight and get it back on track, and he's marched his way all the way back through the field. You certainly can't count out Jason Lowe with the type of speed that he's shown today. So these drivers, man, this is shaping out to be a good one. We'll have to see if it can stay that way to the end, but Rick Lovison here hasn't wavered. He's now at the front end of the pack.
We're contact in the back there. It's about 5th place.
You can see him 3 wide as we go through the corner. They're stacking up. Dan Ench really suffering. We're now 3 wide on the backstretch. It's Jason Lowe, Dan Ench, and Howard Livingston. David Zalesky, all part of 6 cars trying to fit into a very small area.
Yeah, and this is Simpson and Lowe got together. I'm not sure if Lowe has any damage, but Simpson pushed wide into turn 1 into Lowe, got him sideways. So the other great job to save that, but I think if you're Dan, you got to go here and make the move, because these 2 might be damaged and you've lost the draft. So you got to put map 1, put your foot to the floor and go.
Well, it's possible that Dan has done exactly that, because he's somehow regrouped and taken over control at the front of this second group here, but they've now lost 3 seconds to that lead group. So that was a very, very time consuming and costly mistake that they had, separating them from the group. I'm sure they'll be able to recatch, but nevertheless, the front group running off the front of this group at the moment, as they continue to battle side by side. And that's not going to help them catch that lead group should we stay green.
Yeah, and I think looking at the front here, Bunyan got passed by Bowles, so maybe Graham still does have a little fuel save he has to to do. We know Bowles probably doesn't. And one other thing I'm watching here is Jeff Murray got his car back on track, but that's gonna be interesting that they're gonna pass the lap car here. That could shake up the order here, give Bowles a chance to pass.
You're always looking for that, right? Any sort of an advantage you can gain if you're the car behind. If you do want to get out in front, that is. And certainly as we get down there in laps remaining, you'll be looking for that chance to squeeze by those cars in front and try to sit out in front. It just depends on when you feel like it's the best time to do that. Do you want to do that 1 lap to go, 5 laps to go? Where exactly do you feel comfortable? And each one of these drivers is going to have to make a very personal decision about that.
Yeah, I would have already gone. I don't like waiting around. But maybe there's a little bit of fuel, saving that we can do here to, shorten up our pit stop. Whatever the reason might be. Some of them, Bowles is sitting behind Lovison right here, and he's not making a move, which I find interesting, because I would have probably tried to pounce on it already.
Well,
so he must know something that I don't know.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of information floating back and forth. Matt, let's say that you're in Graham Bunyan's position in 3rd right now. What would you be thinking if you're racing right now? What would be the strategy going through your mind at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm where he is and I'm not good on fuel, I'm saving fuel. If he is good on fuel and he knows that for sure, then I'm hitting my green light and I'm just going map 1, and I'm making these passes to get out of here and go for the lead, because he's in a spot where he's got the most fuel to add to the car. So I would like to put myself out in front, get a good pit stop, try to break away. But if he's not good on fuel, you got to save a little bit. Then you wait for that window to open up, get a good pit stop, and hope you're out in front when it cycles through. And I think that's probably the strategy he's playing right now. And looking at the front here, we have Rick Loveson leading. He's running about a 42.2, which is a pretty flat out time. And we're looking back at Dan Lynch and that group back there. And Dan ran a 42 flat, so he is catching at a pretty good rate. It looks like him and Jason Lowe are swap drafting to make that work. So they're breaking just below 42-second mark, which is a great time. So if they continue to work together, it's a great chance they have to close on up to this lead pack here and make it like a 10-15 car race possibly. Still looking at the front here, Ryan Bowles is still tucked in behind Rick Leveson. He hasn't made the move quite yet, which is so he might be trying to save a little bit of fuel here, get a good pit stop. He's followed by Grant Bunyan in third and James Kennedy in fourth. Interestingly, James Kennedy has not made any moves yet, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's good on fuel. Maybe he's trying to save a little bit, but he's definitely playing his cards close to his chest here.
Well, this group of 4 making their breakaway, and that leading to Jason Lowe being 2.79 seconds back. Looks like it maybe even is extending. So this has just turned into a battle of, can Jason Lowe get any support? Can he and this group that's shown just 2.5 seconds now behind, can they run as kind of a cooperative effort, not trying to pass each other in every corner? Can they chase down this lead group? Otherwise, if they can't, this race is basically settled for them. They'll have to settle for 5th and back. But if they can catch the group in front, as has been happening all race long, this is once again anybody's race. So, and I can see just a minute ago, we completely missed it. Matt, I had to step away for a second. Did you mention that David Zalesky has had an incident? We'll take a look at that, what happened. This was just behind Dan Ench. He got below that white line and crashed, not bringing out the yellow flag. Just that white line, super treacherous today. One of our championship contenders here taken out of the race. And Matt, that's not what you want to see if you're a big Orioles fan and you're rooting on David Zalesky today. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but looking back at it, he actually had contact with Matty Simpson. So hopefully no damage to his car. It didn't look like too bad of contact, but that will cause issues right there.
Well, why don't we take a look? It might have happened just before that. Matty was wide in that particular shot, but yeah, either way, he was trying to get through the corner and just got a little low, and it didn't seem to work out for him. But Zalesky out of the race, one of our early favorites, you might say. Definitely championship contender along with Dan Ench. But Dan surviving, maybe not. Once again, just doing a, if I have to say, a typical Dan Ench race. Not at the front. I mean, not at the very front, at the lead. Not fighting in second at the moment, but right there in 5th, hanging on. And as we get 27 laps to go, I think we're starting to see everybody get into position for the end of this race. We've now seen that gap close between James Kennedy and Dan Ench to just 2.2 seconds. So anybody's question is, we can see Richard Kelbaugh coming in for his pit stop, and now, Rick Leveson.
All right, man, caution is
Oh,
out. Caution is
such a bad crash, and and it looks like another driver, perhaps Ryan Bowles getting into him. Tough to tell.
Jason Lowe may have made contact, and possibly Matty Simpson are making contact. It was very close. I'm not sure if they actually hit him.
Let's see if we can get back far enough and see this. We had Ryan Bowles passing as Lovison drifts up the track. No, he just gets into the outside of turn 4. Turn 4. And that was enough to send him around. We'll see if we can watch that from on board.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of there is he's really aggressive on the weight tracker to keep it from getting loose. And he does not make the corner there. And I don't know, just pushes and pushes and pushes. There's nothing you can do once you're out of the groove.
Take a look one more time.
And this definitely opens up, you know, the fuel strategy here. I have a feeling everyone's gonna pit here. You're gonna be right on the strategy here. There might be a little fuel saving needed, I'm not sure. You might see some guys top off the tank. I know I would come down and top off. So it should be a good race here. We're gonna have a lot of interesting strategy.
Well, this is it. This is the moment. This is going to set us up for this final stint. And Ryan Bowles heads everybody into the pits. Now, when we were watching that replay, I also saw Jason Lowe just barely clip that stopped car of Rick Lovison there in the middle of the track. Don't know if he has damage. We might see him possibly taking a repair, Jason Lowe that is, but unfortunate if it has happened because he has been having a miraculous run. Ryan Lowe having issues there. You can see backing up and coming forward in the back of the picture. He didn't get into his pit stall correctly. Jason Lowe not taking a repair, but getting beaten by 2 different drivers out of the pits, 3 drivers out of the pits. Mike West.
Mike West didn't take service, so you might have to come back down.
Oh, interesting. Did not take service. I wonder why that would be.
Might not have seen his box. It could be any reason. I'm assuming with the strategy here, he just didn't see his pit crew and missed it, so he's probably gonna come back around this time by.
Let's see if we can tell. Well, I tell you what, while we're at it, this is a perfect opportunity for us to go ahead and talk about Stick Quick. Stick Quick is just one of those devices that you absolutely should have in your house. Everybody should have one in their house, in their garage. It's a package of these devices that you get. The patented Stick Quick is the ultimate tool accessory. It's the only product of its kind designed to hold multiple types of hand tools, cooking utensils, and writing implements to any surface, making the item ready for instant retrieval and use. So basically, these little magnetic guys are awesome. They stick to anything, and they will. I mean, it's perfect for screwdrivers, as you can see, wrenches, everything from your hand mixer to other things that will work into a square or a oval or a circle, as this shows here on the screen. Now you can go to stickquick.com and see all of the different configurations that you can get, as well as the different colors. Anything that you need to match your race colors. Stick Quick is an awesome product, and looking forward to getting mine in the mail soon. So visit stickquick.com for more information. Proud to have them be a partner of the US IndyCar League.
All right, so it looks like some guys came down and topped off. Mike West, who had missed his box, came down and topped off.
So,
and,
not hurting him too badly then.
No, I had a feeling that others would come down to top off too, and honestly, that's probably what I would have done, just to make sure I'm good on fuel, because I wouldn't want to really save if there's only like 10 cars here on lead lap, because Dan Ench actually lost connection to the server. So I like that strategy call to come in, take fuel and tires, get an extra lap of fuel as we go green, about to go ready to go green here, and you know, I'd rather be full throttle here than having to save.
Well, you make a great point. it coming out when it did, for anybody who just came in and topped off, they will be able to run the most aggressive fuel strategy. Real shame for Dan Ench, our second place in the championship, to lose connection. It's been known to happen, but occasionally the internet not participating as your friend in these races through the entire thing, and sometimes anything from a storm to anything else can happen and take you out. But we'll keep an eye out. Hopefully Dan can rejoin, and Graham Bunyan leads us to the green flag. 25 laps to go here in the Care Camps 250 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is season 11, round 3, and you are watching VirtualRacing.Network's live, uninterrupted coverage. Hope you've been enjoying this one. We have too. It's been filled with all kinds of great strategy as we get set for what could be a great showdown. We see Howard Livingston making his way up into the second place here on track. Howard wants to put that Care Camps machine up into the front.
Yeah, we got 2x2 action here with Matty Simpson making a dive down on Ryan Bowles right now. A few guys not waiting around here, and I suspect we're going to have quite some aggressiveness here.
This is getting hot and heavy action here at the front of the US IndyCar League at Indy. I think some of these drivers who have been sitting and waiting very patiently now getting a little anxious, sensing that this is the last stint and they've got to get up to the front. Matt, if you're somebody like Jason Lowe or even Will Stearns and Howard Livingston, you've been showing your pace all race long in little bits, and now you can see Will Stearns and Ryan Bowles march to the front.
Yeah, I mean, I think interesting to see how big the runs are. We weren't seeing this earlier. So they got to keep these runs, the speed up here. Keep the speed up, you limit how big the runs are. If you're not good on fuel and you're coming to the front and you're backing up pace a little bit, then there's going to be 2-3 wide runs. So I think Dan Inch actually came back to he had a power outage. But yeah, we're looking at a good run here, and I think Stearns and Bowles at the front here look like they want to push the envelope here and keep the speed up.
Well, Graham Bunyan falling off a little bit from Ryan Bowles, but this is actually something we thought we might be talking about with Ryan Bowles and Graham Bunyan now up into this is first, second, and third. Will Stearns, Ryan Bowles, Graham Bunyan, and now Jason Lowe just behind. So this group now of fast drivers all together, and we thought we might see that again as we were seeing different drivers cycling through. So also for Graham Bunyan, his teammate Mike West, shown in 7th, not very far behind. So possibly if he can get up there, that those two teammates might be able to work together. So, and as far as Dan Ench goes, as you mentioned, we do see that Dan has rejoined. Take a look at Dan on the track, now shown quite a few laps down, but he actually only lost about 5 laps, and he's still sitting ahead of Rick Levison and Jeff Murray on the same lap. So a chance to get 11th and get some of those points back that he might have lost. So brief momentary outage, and Dan back with us. And it's starting to break up a little bit here at the front with 20 to go. Will Stearns showing some speed that, I'll be honest, we saw little glimpses of, but we haven't seen this out of Will the first couple of rounds, him having a couple of issues, taking him out of races. But here Will running right up at the front like he belongs there, Matt.
Yeah, Graham Bunyan looks like he's struggling the most right now out of the top 4 here, as we see Jason Lowe making the pop on the outside.
Low to the outside, as he's done many times in this race, hanging tight, and Graham not forcing the issue, not forcing him up higher. Wondering if those marbles might become a problem if we keep going green. Might cause an issue. What's that?
interesting. He fights right back. These guys, you know, he's not giving up the spot. And Jason Lowe finally clears him there going in two.
Well, Graham is an interesting place in the championship. I think he knows that he's got the speed to win these races, and he is leading the championship, so he has to do a little protection of that. But at the same time, I think he'd like to finally, I say finally, 3 races in, I think he'd like to really step up to the top end, or to the top step of the podium. But Matt, look at this. We're all back in a pack again. It looked like it had broken open for a moment as we see Inigo Mardones making his march to the front. The Spaniard up into 6th place at the moment. 8 positions gained on the day. But just ahead of him, we've got today's race sponsor's race-sponsored vehicle, Howard Livingston, who's been running with this livery, to be honest, all season. It looks great for care camps. And we're now, well, Howard's going to be digging in his pocket $83, as it looks like Mike West having perhaps slowing down here a little bit, dropping a little bit further back as a couple of drivers getting by. Jason Lowe, I'm sorry, Matty Simpson and James Kennedy passing Mike West that last lap. I don't know, maybe he had a little bit of an incident, maybe running a little high as he's doing right there, perhaps doing a little damage to the Dallara. But up front, in the driver's seat, it is Will Stearns, of the driver's seat of this race. It is Will Stearns with Ryan Bowles in 2nd, Jason Lowe in 3rd, as Stearns goes up a little bit high and Bowles takes a little peek to the inside. This is just shaping up to be a barn burner as we get into 15 laps to go. It is truly anybody's race here, side by side into turn 1.
I think Graham Bunyan just put the jets on. He's going to try to go to the front here. I think he was just making sure he had enough fuel. Yeah, he's confident. He knows he has enough now, and he's going for it.
You called it, Matt. You have that keen 6th sense to be able to sense when other drivers are making moves and what they're doing on the track, and you called it. Graham Bunyan straight to the lead, no problem, using that draft very effectively, taking the lead into turn 3 and coming down the front straight. We got Will Stearns shown as the leader at the moment, but Graham Bunyan on the inside. Stern hangs on the outside as they exit turn 1 and into 2. It's Bunyan who goes down below that white line. It's been treacherous today and so close between Will Stearns and Graham Bunyan. Matt, it doesn't look like Will Stearns wants to give up this lead at all.
No, and he actually drove right in the right rear tire of Graham Bunyan there. Graham was in front, and Will just nudged him out of the way. So I don't know if there's damage there to Bunyan's car or Will's car, but that was an interesting one.
Well, things starting to shake a little loose. It's getting a little hectic out here. Some drivers drifting up the track. Drivers moving forward, marching to the front, making their passes and setting themselves up as we get closer and closer to 10 laps to go. It looks like Graham Bunyan has got the lead solidly from Will Stearns, but just as I say that, here comes Will Stearns back on the inside. Ryan Bowles managing to catch a little bit of the draft from Graham Bunyan on the outside, and Will has to back out a little bit as they exit turn 3. We head on to the front stretch, and there will soon be just 12 laps to go. We see Will Stearns make small contact with the outside wall. Might have given a startle to Jason Lowe behind. Jason choosing not to use that moment to make a pass into turn 1. He's happy sitting in 4th for the moment. Howard Livingston just behind, also making his adjustments, not trying to force the issue. I think Howard trying to do his best for care camps and not have this race end prematurely, but we also see that Richard Kelba had to make another pit stop, so that, of course, continuing to take him off of the lead group strategy. But shown in 10th place.
Oh, just watch Jason Lowe. He's running that white line in 4 there and about binned it. He's trying to, run hard here to catch back up to the leaders after getting around Will Stearns.
Well, this race continues to evolve. We have been seeing different drivers making their way to the front at different moments. At this time, it's no surprise to see Graham Bunyan, who has had so much success in the US IndyCar League for a number of years, and it really looked like Ryan Bowles got up high there on exit. Graham seemingly getting some better control out of his vehicle at the moment, trying to weave side to side to break that toe, but it's pretty futile to try to break that toe, as we've seen some of these drivers, Jason Lowe in particular, being able to claw his way back from a couple of seconds back and still manage to catch that group in front. So I think, Matt, if this stays green, we might have a shootout between some of the top drivers in the league, including, it's great to have Jason Lowe here, available here to have this shootout at the end, the first couple of rounds, not having the races that he would want.
Yeah, we've got a good four-car battle up here with Kennedy joining also in the mix here, James Kennedy. And looks like Will Stearns just pulled off, so that's going to open it up for the others to even possibly close up. This could get crazy here at the end.
Well, we have a number of you joining us in the YouTube chat, watching us live right now as we get inside of 9 laps to go here for the Care Camps 250 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. My name is Trevor Greenfield. I've been with you 95% of the race with Matt Kingsbury, who has been calling the action today. It's been a great race filled with all kinds of strategy, including this man, Graham Bunyan, having a moment earlier, dropping back and coming forward again. Ryan Bowles, who sits just behind him, dropping back and coming forward, and then making his stamp at the front, unfortunately getting caught out on pit stop strategy, and then again coming forward. So now finding himself in second. Jason Lowe sitting in third, the series defending champion, 3-time champion Jason Lowe, not having the start to season 11 that he would like, but right now making himself available for a podium position, sitting in third place and possibly in the seat to take advantage of that draft as we get into the last 5 laps. Sitting just behind him, James Kennedy, one of the winners already this season. He's sitting in fourth. You can't count him out. Dropping just off of the lead pack, it's Matty Simpson in fifth in the yellow Submarine. Just behind him, Inigo Mardones. And that is our top 5. Howard Livingston in the Care Camps automobile in 6th, just falling off a little bit. Mike West also still on the lead lap. And Will Stearns somewhere back there still on the lead lap. He'll be looking to... He's just at the very tail end, so perhaps Will going to go a lap down here. But we get set inside of 7 laps, and I think everybody just doing their final positioning for where they want to be in the last few laps of this, what's setting up to be a great finish.
Yeah, and we still have cars in the back here if they're going to catch up here with possibly 2 or 3 to go, so this could get really crazy.
Well, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, always a great place to come to, always a difficult challenge to set up for if you're in an open series. These drivers having a fixed setup provided for the league, and it seems to be turning out some very good racing. A little difficult to hang on to in some circumstances, making it a little challenging, but a number of these drivers not only hanging on, but executing well, changing their in-car adjustments, as we've heard Graham Bunyan say. And we can see Jeff Murray now pulling into the pits. So this going to really continue to hurt his race. Jeff was one of our early front runners. But those in-car adjustments are really where it's at, keeping this car pointed in the right direction on entry and exit is so crucial to not scrubbing speed and wearing the tires. Looks like Will Stearns, I believe a minute ago, did make his pit stop, so that was a little bit of a late note that we just got. But here we go, 5 laps to go. Running order: Graham Bunyan, Ryan Bowles, Jason Lowe, James Kennedy, and Matty Simpson. Ryan Bowles is just all over the back of Graham Bunyan. If anybody's going to do it today, I think it's either going to be Ryan Bowles or Jason Lowe. As we head into turn 1 with just 4 laps remaining, we're getting to the very closing stages of this race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. We got a lap car coming up here, so if I'm sitting here in second or third, I'm popping as soon as I can because I can use that toe possibly to extend my lead out, and I might be able to just hold on to the win here because I have a feeling that getting out in front, they're all waiting for that, Daytona-style slingshot to make the run like they always do at Daytona Talladega in the Cup Series. Because like they say there, you never want to be the leader in the last lap, but in IndyCar it's a little different. You got to just find the right lap to go, the right corner to go, and you can usually hold on for about a lap and a half.
Well, Matt, for those of the audience who haven't seen it, they should really pull it up on YouTube. But Matt, your win here last year in the Indy 500, it came at the very end, and you were a 4-wide finish. I think you using a little bit of that draft to get yourself in position, holding tight on the inside, claiming that victory. We may have a similar finish here with these drivers setting up for their draft. If Jason Lowe has anything for him, we may see a 2-3 wide finish.
Maybe. This reminds me of the actual Indy 500 from this year with them all stacking up behind one of the lap cars, I can't remember who, and getting tows. I think it was Castroneves got the tow and he ended up holding the lead. So it very much so reminds me of the real Indy 500. You can see Bunyan knows it. He's trying to use that to his advantage here.
Well, how special it would be, as you mentioned before, that is Will Stearns up in front, so we know Will has pace, assuming he hasn't hurt too much of the pace on that car. He seems to be running okay of laps at the moment. Will pulling down to the inside, so close to pit entry there, and another vehicle. This is the final lap. Graham Bunyan pulls to the outside of Will Stearns as we head down into turn... As we head down into turn and out of turn 2 now, it's Graham Bunyan on the outside, and right behind, it's Jason Lowe, who's now passed Ryan Bowles for second. Jason Lowe sliding up the track as they head into turn 3. Jason Lowe on the outside. Lowe has to dive a little high. We exit turn 4, and it's anybody's race. Graham Bunyan in the lead. Bunyan swerves to the inside, and at the checkered flag, Lowe on the outside, but it's Bunyan with the victory at Indianapolis. Jason Lowe a close second, and Ryan Bowles third. Ryan was in the seat to perhaps take advantage of that, but Jason Lowe taking advantage of the draft, and Graham Bunyan mastering the front of this race, not letting any drivers get a draft pass. No Daytona style slingshots here. Graham Bunyan, your winner of the Care Camps 250.
It's a really good finish overall, and I think well played by Graham Bunyan there. I think he was looking ahead the whole time and was just hoping that Ryan wouldn't make the pop when he did. So the fact that Ryan waited, I don't know if he was short on fuel, but great job by Graham there to recognize the situation and use that draft to his advantage.
Well, Graham Bunyan has it appears, I can hear he's run out of fuel here on the last lap, so that's how close it was for Graham to make that pass and win. We'll see if he has any time for any donuts here.
Yeah, and I did note he was saving fuel early on in the run there. And when he had gone, like I said, I knew he felt confident because he wouldn't go if he wasn't. And it shows how close he was on the fuel there.
Well, that close on fuel, and yet he still knew that he had the fuel to make the pass that he needed to, or hold on rather, which he needed to do. Graham Bunyan, your winner here at Indianapolis. A sensational race, absolutely an amazing close strategy battle all the way along, and Graham, no surprise, pulls off the masterful victory. Let's take a look at the very end of this race, because it was so exciting and it really was just about anybody's race. We'll take a look here as we head on to the last lap. This was from onboard Jason Lowe. We'll get to see everything unfold in front of us as Graham Bunyan on the outside of Will Stearns, who had gone a lap down, and now Jason Lowe really looking to take that big Daytona-style slingshot. He tried the outside. He had done it so many times, but Graham Bunyan racing him hard, not quite giving him as much room as he might have maybe several laps before. And Graham then sliding to the inside despite Jason's great pace off of turn 4. No match for Graham Bunyan, who executed beautifully today and absolutely was a superstar who, I mean, let's face it, he also had an issue. He did kind of get it wrong for a moment, and we thought he might actually lose it today and end up in the wall for a second, but marched his way back and managed to take the victory. So congratulations to Graham as we take a look here at the final results. And the Care Camps 250 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway covered live here on VirtualRacing.Network. It's Graham Bunyan with the victory. Nobody's surprised. Graham, a great talent and having some issues, but managing to pull it back together and end up in the top step, defending the position from Jason Lowe, who was charging so hard in second. Jason dropping back after himself having a big issue, sliding out to the side and coming across the track, gaining a off track in the moment, almost putting it in the wall, but gathering it all back together, pulling together an excellent strategy for the end of this race and managing to take second, almost taking first, but definitely a great regroup for his championship efforts. Ryan Bowles in third. Fantastic race from Ryan. He did everything he needed to put himself in the front of this race, but was no match at the very end for Graham Bunyan's ability to adjust those weight jackers and ARBs and keep that car up in the front. Jason Lowe also getting the better of him on that last lap, not really having any ability to defend from a hard-charging Jason Lowe. James Kennedy, one of our former winners, winner of our first race in the season, shown in fourth, so that will do great for his championship efforts. Matty Simpson, again, an Australian who we haven't been talking about in the broadcast, making his way up into fifth. He was doing excellent today. We'll probably be talking more about him running at the front of these races in the near future. Inigo Mardones in sixth and Howard Livingston in seventh. Howard running for the Care Camps organization on the side pod and putting together this sponsorship of the race today. So great to see that. Howard completing all 100 laps, so he and a number of his friends are going to be donating that money straight to the Care Camps, and you can do the same. We'll be talking to him in a minute. Mike West in eighth, last week's winner. Will Stearns in ninth. Will having a great race for a number of laps, and then just having a bit of an incident, and again, it costing him so dearly, holding on there to actually going down a lead lap there at the very end, but looking strong all race. Richard Kelbaugh, not really a factor today in an off strategy, perhaps having an issue, ending up in 10th. Dan Ench, 11th. Dan in second in the points, having a disconnection. Unfortunately, that will drop him down in the points, but still coming back to get 11th. Jeff Murray, Rick Lovison, David Zalesky. Rick, of course, having probably our biggest incident of the day. And David Zalesky, then Manuel Gomez Esteban, and Danny Alt not making the start. Matt, we saw a great race today. We're going to take a look and see if we can see if we can get Howard Livingston in the booth here. So, Howard, do you hear me?
I got you, man. Got you.
Awesome. Well, you, first of all, you made it 100 laps, and that's the most important thing of today, because today is a special day at Indy. It's the Care Camps 250, and of course, you doing this wonderful program of making not only a decision to donate $1 from each lap that you complete, some of your friends doing the same, but you've actually you've gotten their message out here as a great message for everybody to hear about what Care Camps does. And then also, this is not the first time you've done this, Howard. You've you've actually helped with your friends to raise over $1 million for this organization in the past, and you're still giving. So thank you so much from all of us at US IndyCar League, as well as VirtualRacing.Network, for putting this together. And maybe you can just tell us a little bit what it means to run for the Care Camps organization today.
Well, it's such an incredible organization, and I just have to give a shout out to all the Coconut Castaway, our friend club that helped and donated so much. But basically, Care Camp lets kids be kids that have cancer, and we don't often think about that. We've all known people, or maybe ourselves, have been affected with that horrible disease. But for a child, it's just devastating, and they don't really get to be a kid. They're in hospital environments. They're always protected. So Care Camps, basically, for 1 week a year, they take all these kids, and there's a bunch of specialized camps that have full medical facilities. But these kids just get to be kids and hang out with people that look just like them, whether they don't have hair or whatever, or scars or whatever it is. And it's just incredible organization, and it helps the healing process. It's not they're not trying to cure cancer. They're just letting kids be kids, and it's such a wonderful organization. We're just honored to be a little part of it.
That is so cool. Kind of reminds me of something that has been out there for a while, that the Hole in the Wall gang camps, kind of a similar situation, and they've helped many people. The Care Camps down in Florida especially do an awesome job, and I'm so happy that we were able to bring them out here and be able to talk about what they do and how you've been able to work with them in the past and really make such a huge difference. And not only the kids' lives, of course, it's their siblings, their families, everybody connected to them, and getting to see that they're able to have a great time and live with their friends and have a great summer camp experience. So, but for this race, however, you ending up in 7th place, it was a tough battle all race long. What was the race like from your perspective? Were you just hanging on to the setup? Did you have a fuel save plan? What were you doing today?
Yeah, I was on a fuel save plan, and it kind of didn't work out at the end, though. We had some cautions when they weren't ideal for my strategy. And also at the end, I kind of waited a little too long to get back into full-on racing, and I let a few folks get around me that it took me a little while to realize I had enough fuel to finish, really driving hard. So anyway, that's racing. I didn't start racing hard soon enough right at the end.
Well, you hung on. I mean, ultimately today, that was kind of the message. No matter whether you finished at the top step of the podium or you finished in 7th, obviously for your championship hopes, always good to finish a race, and and a top 10 is always the way to go with that. But for Care Camps, again, just to stick it out, get all 100 laps in, and be able to do some more good for the kids is really what it's all about. So congratulations to you for making it all of the laps, not even going down a lap. So you got that extra, that full amount to the kids today. And anything else you want to say about the organization or for the race before we move on to some of our other competitors?
Just a quick thing about, I don't want to dwell on this forever, but one of the nice things about Care Camp, and I would say this, $1 is $1. A lot of organizations, unfortunately, and they have to be that way. They've got a lot of administrative costs, but all the board of directors, most of the doctors and nurses at the camps are all volunteers. So the $1 someone gives gets right to where it needs to be, and that's those special kids.
You bet. Absolutely. Well, that's really a fantastic thing to know. So they can, of course, go to carecamps.org to learn more and see more of what the group does and find out how they can donate those dollars. And as you mentioned, $1 is $1, and that is terrific. A great place to put your dollar, if you ask me. So thank you so much, Howard, for joining us here in the booth, and congrats again on finishing the race and putting all those bucks into the kids' summer camps account, and good luck with the rest of your season. In the meantime, we're seeing that Ryan Bowles has joined us in the commentary booth, our 3rd place finisher. Ryan, if you could jump on. Do you hear me here in the booth? So I've got Ryan Bowles. Yeah, you got me, Ryan?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, bud. So congratulations on your third place finish. Matt and I were watching here in the booth, and you were in control a lot of this race. You were out front, and then in second place, looked like you were just poised in position for Graham Bunyan. Congrats on your second, and how did this race start off for you, and how did it unfold?
Well, it started out, we did a really good job saving fuel the first half of the race. Obviously, it didn't quite matter through the second half of the race, but it mattered a little bit in that last stint after the caution. So, I noticed I was still trying to save fuel coming out of in the last 20 laps. So, but it helped to stay up front.
So you still needed to save fuel. We saw Graham Bunyan run out of fuel just after crossing the start-finish line. How close was it for you? And were you just managing fuel the whole race, or did it just sort of become a factor because of that last caution?
I was saving the whole race, but the third stint I was not saving because I had saved so much in the first half. I mean, I was like 5 or 6 laps good, but once the cautions came out, we were all pretty much equal, except for the guys who I think stayed out on that last caution.
So that caution kind of burning you a little bit. You thought you were in a better strategy position. Nevertheless, you found yourself right back up there. Maybe we can take a look at it as you're talking, but you were sitting in second place. You saw Jason Lowe, who I don't know if you knew, but he had a moment earlier and ended up at the back of the pack, had come charging up forward. There he was sitting in your mirrors as you get ready to take the white flag. Were you trying to defend from Jason? What was your thought? Did you know that he was loving that high side?
It was weird because I was hoping at the end where I ended up on the low line, and I think he got a run on my outside. I probably could have gone up there and blocked a little bit, but I didn't do that. So the outside was the preferred lane, so that's why he got me. And then I never really had. I wouldn't say didn't have a chance, but it was tough behind 3 people to try to make up time on that last lap.
You bet. And that draft is super powerful, but not quite enough for you to be able to pull out that victory at the end, but you were a factor all day. Ryan Bowles, I think a name that we're going to be talking about quite a bit in the US IndyCar League going forward. You're showing a ton of speed at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and what a great place to do it. Indy's really a special track. So Ryan, what's that?
One of my favorites.
One of your favorites, absolutely. Did you participate in the official Indy 500s?
I did not. My computer had been down for a month. That's why I missed the first couple weeks.
Oh, I see. I'm like, why does this guy that has so much speed, why have we not seen him the first couple of weeks? And there's your answer. Little technical glitches. They just seem to come up at the wrong time. But so this being your first Indy 500, well, what a way to do it, ending up in third. Congratulations to you, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us here in the Discord. And so now we'll get a chance, and good luck in the rest of your season, Ryan. Now we'll get a chance to talk to our second place finisher, the man who was on a charge. Super exciting to talk about. Jason Lowe, you got me in the booth?
Hey, I sure do.
Hey, Jason. You put on a heck of a show. The first couple of rounds, you were kind of drifting backwards after some early fast laps. This one, you had a little bit of an incident very, very early on, and yet it put you at the back of the pack. You didn't crash, and then you had to march all the way back forward. It looked like you just had the red fog and you were headed forward. You made it. Talk about your race a little bit.
Well, yeah, like you said, I got loose off the corner and was able to save it, but I had to use the access road and go to the back of the pack. And tires were real hot and slick. I had to give myself a lap or so just to kind of get my head back around it. And then I was like, all right, my elbows are going out and my eyes are going up, and here we go. And I was driving a little angry at myself, which kind of helps. I mean, it's nice to have an interview with you that's not a pity interview. I'm actually in second place. It feels good. It was a fun race. I had a little contact with Matty Simpson. I'm sorry about that, and I did apologize to him. Him and I got together one time. It was my fault. I was just being aggressive, and I was using that outside line where someone would be behind another car, and they'd have to check up in the center of the corner, and I would try to use the momentum on the outside, and it works for me sometimes. You have to have the guy on the inside be a gentleman and not wipe you out, and nobody did. So I appreciate all my league mates for racing clean. And even though we had a couple cautions, it was mostly single car events. I'm happy about that too. I actually scored a pole this week, which is rare for me. I'm a horrible qualifier, so would have liked to have won, but I mean the best of the best, Graham won, so I can't feel too bad about coming second to him. And especially since I had just such a eventful day, making it on the podium, I'm really happy.
And indeed, not only coming back onto the podium, but we watched you make masterful passes. You were using that high side to your advantage and really making it stick. We watched you pass several cars. Reminds me of some of the official IndyCar races where I've seen like Ryan Hunter-Ray or Santino Ferrucci just flying around cars to the outside. It seemed like the outside was about the only place you could actually make a pass and make it stick, but you were making it work great.
Well, when you get the clean air on the outside, you can actually feel the front wing load up, and you can feel the front grip come back, and it lets you stay on the gas where the guy on the inside, especially if there's a car in front of him, he's got a lift. And if you can keep your foot down and keep your momentum up, you get a run off the corner, it works. But like I said, the guy on the inside has to be mindful. He can't drift up into you. And, a lot of people don't have the skill to keep it on the bottom. And everybody I got on the outside of was a gentleman and kept it on the bottom. I got trapped on the inside a few times and had to, make sure I didn't drift up into the guy on my outside. But what a great bunch we have here as far as just how hard we race, but how clean we race. I'm so proud of these guys, and just it puts a smile on my face every week.
Well, you put a smile on our face today as we got a chance to watch you execute your skill. You play it down like you don't have the speed or something like that to run with these front runners like Graham Bunyan each week that we talk to you, but you clearly showed some mastery of the in-car adjustments. You're our series defending champion, 3-time defending champion now. And Jason, I think you better look again at the points at the end of this one, because you're going to find yourself up there in the fight for this championship any moment now.
Well, we'll see about that. It's week to week. I'm happy for a second. On to next week. I'm going to join Howard and make a contribution to the care camps. Wonderful organization that helps the kids with cancer. Thank you to Stick Quick and to Howard for putting on this race. And thank you guys for the awesome job you do in the booth.
It's absolutely our pleasure. And again, thank you for putting on for doing all of this work with US IndyCar League. I know it's a big team effort, but also the ability to be able to work with care camps and some other organizations this season and be able to get the word out about what they do. Again, carecamps.org for anybody else who wants to find out more about that. Jason, thank you so much. Congratulations. In your second place finish here at Indy must be pretty special. I'll let you go ahead and cool off and go make that contribution to the care camps. And good luck with the rest of your season, bud.
Hey, thank you very much, and congratulations to Graham.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, the very tired Australian is now in our booth. He's somehow drug himself in here after all of this race. He's probably dripping with sweat at the end of this and ready to just go shower and go take a sleep. But Graham, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you?
I'm doing great. Myself and Matt, we were having a blast watching you and Jason Lowe and Ryan Bowles. Like, this was a heck of a battle, a real execution of a mastery of in-car adjustments and then fuel strategy, because it looked like you were out of fuel on the very last lap. So take us through your race and how you managed to end up at the top step of the podium.
Well, thanks, Jason, for having the lose in front, because I had to burn the fuel on the first stint. My plan was to just drop in behind him and just save fuel map 5 and away we go. But Jason got a bit loose down low, and I had to lead the pack, and I didn't want to try and check them up too much, so I had to put it back to fuel map 1, and away we went. So from there on, the next 3 stints was a matter of just trying to save. I had David Stritt in my ear giving me all the numbers, and I'm giving him all my fuel numbers, and I think he's got a bigger headache than what I've got at the moment. But yeah, crazy race. I thought my race was done actually on lap 87. I thought I was out and over. I had a car that sort of drove into my right rear wheel, and I thought that was it. I was going to go into the wall.
And yeah, we saw that on track, but you didn't have any noticeable damage to your car or anything like that.
Yeah, I just the right rear wing just had a slight twist in it. But other than that, it felt okay. I just had to change the weight checker a little bit to adjust again. I seem to be doing that week in, week out. But hey, I got the monkey off my back. Got that win eventually.
You sure did. Not only did you get the win, but you got it at a very special place, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, after this, I'm sure you'll be going to drink your pint of customary milk. What kind of milk do you drink, Graham? Are you a non-fat or are you a 2% full milk?
No, give it to me, full fat milk, man, full cream, straight from the cow's udder. I don't care. Just give it to me.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Great answer. So Graham, yeah, and again, this is of course a special win, but it's been elusive for you the first 2 rounds. You've had the speed to do it, but you haven't been able to step up on that top step of the podium. Must feel pretty good, like you said, to get that monkey off your back and finally cement yourself as the top of the standings and the top of the podium for this race. Quite a masterful win. And your season's really starting to come together as we get into the bread and butter of the season.
It's great. And like I say, I can't do it without the guys in my ears. I just drive and steer, and I just give the fuel numbers to David Stritt, and he just crunches those numbers every week. But look, great bunch of guys to race with. Week in, week out, they always put on a good show. Hopefully get a few more people on board. I'd like to see a full field in here, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, and it's good. Like I said, yeah. Don't know. Actually, I wouldn't have made it up into the booth if Matty Simpson didn't push me back to the finish line.
That's a very interesting point there as we look at how this one finished up here. You having to get around the lap car of Will Stearns. Will was just a moment before he was up in the front having an issue sliding up into the wall. So here you're looking at Jason Lowe making a pass on Ryan Bowles. Was there a moment where you felt like Bowles or Lowe going on the high side? Did you think maybe he might be able to work that magic?
Oh, no, look, I honestly thought he had me on the outside. I had to try and cover a little bit and make the car a little bit wider than what I normally would. But yeah, I sort of come up a bit. I wanted to give him plenty of room so he didn't go up into that wall, but I just had to make it like a truck. I really did. Otherwise, he would have got me. He would have got in behind me and just slipped on by.
Well, it was super close, a super close finish. And then, of course, you running out of fuel there after the checkered flag. So that's how close it was. You running out in clean air didn't help your fuel. And if you had to do it for any more laps earlier, so you really had to make like a very calculated move as to when you would move forward. Otherwise, you might not have had the fuel and you might have run out. Shades of Dan Ench last week running out on the last lap.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I got a good number guy who can punch the numbers out. And as soon as he told me to put it back to fuel map 1, that was it. We were away. But he was still asking me every lap, what's my fuel? So, yeah, we made it.
Wow. Well, what an amazing, fortunate thing that you have to have that team member for you. Myself, I rely on the fuel calculators and they are glitchy as heck. So there's an example of where a human being may be a little bit more effective than those robot AI can just go out the window. Give me your guy in a second. A lot of his phone number, they're going to go back and pull up his name. They're going to be dialing him up and sending him text messages. Hey, come over and do the strategy for my race. Well, Graham, again, congratulations for winning here. The Care Camps 250 at Indianapolis. Again, super special. We know it's late there in Australia, so I'll let you say whatever parting words you want to. And again, congratulations on your superb victory.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. Yeah, look, the care camp, I'm not too up on that. I mean, we have our own similar thing over here in Australia, but thanks for Howard to putting up the sponsorship for that. That was great. And, you know, stick quick, week in, week out. They're always there. And the boys who make it happen, you know, Jason, Dan, Howard, they all make it. Richard, you know, the whole group make it happen. So kudos to those guys. And yeah, you do a great job up there in the booth.
Well, thank you so much for saying so. You haven't seen the broadcast yet, so you'll have to wait until it's over. But yeah, we try our best, and thanks again. You put on an excellent show. Once again, congratulations, Graham, and good luck on the rest of your season. Not that you need my luck. It seems like you're creating your own at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was quite a battle today. Matt, this was really one for the ages in terms of an Indy race. We saw it all today. It was it was just one of those battles where it was like we didn't know until the very last lap who was going to win, and no surprise, it was Graham Bunyan with Jason Lowe coming in second.
Yeah, the fuel really threw a wrench into it. I think everyone had to really, you know, tone it down at the end there more than we thought they were going to have to. Had we had a later caution, you know, maybe we see a little more racy, you know, passing every lap, some slingshotting. But it was definitely interesting, you know, for them to wait and have to time out the run, make sure they're good on fuel. So it was definitely a good finish.
You bet. Pleasure having you in the booth as always, Matt. And you did an excellent job of covering this crazy strategy, helping me to keep my strategies all straightened out. Thanks again. And thanks to the whole field. It was a great, clean race, save for just a couple of small incidents and just a couple of caution flags through this 100-lapper. And in the meantime, why don't we go ahead, actually, and take a quick look at the upcoming schedule just so that we know where we're headed next week. And we've got the Kansas. Well, we just did Kansas, and of course we just finished Indy. So now we'll be headed to Pocono next week, and then after that, Auto Club, Fontana, wide open battle. Pocono should be a lot of fun, Matt. A race that you've done well at, and one that opens up strategy to both passing and fuel savings.
Yeah, Pocono is a good one. Depending on the type of setup they have there, you know, you could have it be a straight up, you know, breakaway race where one guy just pulls out and has the pace to lead it, or you could have a little bit of pack racing. So it's a track that lends itself to many styles of racing.
You bet. A number of great ovals coming up, and still that awesome road course in Monza with no chicane. So all of this should be exciting action. It was a pleasure to have you joining us here on VirtualRacing.Network for the full 100 laps. This was season 11, round 3 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Care Camps 250. Make sure to go to carecamps.org and make your pledge today. VirtualRacing.Network, proud to bring you uninterrupted coverage throughout, and actually the innovation of side-by-side coverage starting today. So proud to introduce that for the US IndyCar League. So stay tuned. Make sure to go over to our YouTube channel, like this video, and subscribe. We've already put up the scheduled races for a few of our upcoming races, so make sure you get notifications when those will be. You'll get more of this great, exciting action. For myself and Matt Kingsbury, once again at VirtualRacing.Network. It's our pleasure to have you joining us. Happy Father's Day to everybody. So long for now. See you next week at Pocono.